Hey there. I try to do these little sort of walkthroughs every year, sometimes every 2 years when it comes to these stitch challenges. Um, Most of the time, the structure is fairly similar. A few things change from year to year, but so if you've watched one of these in the past, you may learn a little bit more from this one. You may get a refresher on some things, but essentially, these are our free cross stitch challenges that we offer out every month. These have been going on for, I think we started these in 2020, 2021-ish. Um, and they will continue to go strong every month going forward. Essentially, this challenge is just a fun way to get you motivated to cross stitch. Throw a couple prompts at you to kind of just um, perk some interest, get you, pick up something maybe you didn't pick up before, try a new thing that you never tried before, reach out to another person, just different things to kind of keep you, like I said, to keep everybody motivated and spending time on a hobby that you love. Um, because to me, a hobby isn't something that is nice to have in life, it's a need to have. Especially as this world gets crazier and crazier, and things tend to get more stressful for many. One way that you can ensure that you stay at least mentally healthier is spending a bit of time doing something you love. Expressing creativity is a great way, which obviously cross stitching is a medium that um, works well for being creative, but if you can't draw or you're not the artsy type, it's a way to still make beautiful art, but have a guidance to do it. So you don't need to be able to draw really well. You don't need to be able to, actually craft and make, like sew something or things like that. It is an easier, crafty hobby for people to pick up than some other ones may be. And it's also one that is easily, number one, you can bring it with you a lot of places as long as it's not large projects, but you can bring smaller projects with you. It's something that's very easy to pick up and put down. So if you have young kids, or if you work a job where, like, I know there's a lot of jobs that are like call center type jobs where you can work on your cross stitch in between customers. Or if you're like, a job where you have to sit and wait a lot, it's something that you can keep yourself occupied with, but you can easily put it down as long as you mark off kind of where you are and things. So it's a great hobby to give you an outlet to kind of process and relax from the stress of every day, and also make something beautiful in the long run. So, this challenge, essentially, the goal of it is not to stress you out. It's not to make you feel like you have homework every day. You don't have to do these every month. You can do them, pick them up as you choose. You can do only one part of it. You can just grab the patterns that come with it. There's, I mean, it's very flexible in terms of the way you do it. Um, it's whatever works for you that makes you enjoy your time cross stitching. So I don't want you spending all of your time stressing about finishing your challenge. As long as you're picking up your projects and you're spending some time cross stitching, that is essentially the goal of these. If you do finish or complete different areas of the challenge, there isn't a chance to win every month a little prize. So the prizes change throughout the month. Sometimes they're patterns, sometimes they're totes, sometimes they're mugs, things like that. But there's always something that can be that is kind of raffled off to everybody who enters their points. So essentially, our challenge is um, a little bit of counting your stitches and setting yourself kind of a goal of a number of stitches to do in a month. And then the other half is like a bingo board. So let's think of bingo, but for cross stitching. And you check off squares on your board as you complete the items. So every month you'll see the same things, but you'll have different prompts, different goals to hit. So every month you're going to have a stitch challenge or stitches challenge, which is just literally counting how many stitches you do in a month. Again, it's not something where I expect you to be 100% no mistake accurate. If you use Pattern Keeper, obviously it keeps your stitches for you. If you simply just want to guesstimate your stitches, I mean, you stitch for, like, say, stitch for 10 minutes, count how many you did in the 10 minutes. If you do, we'll say, this is probably not even, so this isn't even an accurate number, but say you did 10 stitches in 10 minutes, and you stitch for 60 minutes, you can guesstimate that you would do 60 stitches in 60 minutes. Not a realistic representation, but just a quick example for you. So you are fine to guesstimate it. I don't expect this to be like set in stone, the exact number you did, but it's just a good guesstimate to show kind of what progress you've done. When it comes to counting your stitches, like I said, Pattern Keeper, you can obviously use that. That'll keep it for you. You can use, there's like little tickers, counters. You can keep one of those with you where you just click the button as you go. Some simple ways is have a piece of paper beside you, and every time you do 10 stitches, just put a little, a line. Like, so every line counts as 10 at the end of your little stitch session. Count how many lines you have, and that's how many stitches you did. If you use paper patterns, highlight with a different color every day. So if you are stitching today and you highlight in yellow, everything in yellow at the end of the day you count, that's your stitches for the day. The next day you stitch, highlight in pink, so you know that everything in pink is what you did that day. Very simple ways to kind of low-key, stress-free count your stitches. I don't expect, like I said, you to be focused solely on that, and don't be discouraged if your stitch count is low. It depends on what you're working on. Some projects will be very easy to get high stitch counts because it's one color, whereas something that's very confetti heavy, like some of my larger projects, I won't get half as many as I do in a normal day on other projects. So just keep in mind that every time you count one stitch, that's still progress further ahead than you were the day before. So it's not meant to discourage you. It's just kind of a way, again, these are just ways of motivating you, different ways to just kind of incite a bit more of an excitement to do something. So the stitch challenge every month is essentially, I'm just going to flip between the 3 pages. These are the pages you will get by email at the end of every month for the upcoming month. So for the beginning of 2026, on December 30th, 31st, you will see January stuff. Every month you will have a goal of how many stitches you need to do in that month. And underneath that goal, I've given you a rough idea of how many you would have to do every day of that month to meet that. So for 3,000 stitches in January, you simply need to do just under 100 a day. So that is just a number to kind of give you an idea. So if you sit there and you stitch for 2 or 3 days and you've got like 200 and 200 and 200, and then you miss 2 or 3 days, you don't have to go, oh man, I just missed 3 days, I'm going to fall behind. Technically, with the first 3 days, you did double of what you needed. So it just gives you a fun way to kind of keep track, and then you would color in one of these X's every time that you do 100 stitches. So each row is 1,000. So these first 3 rows are your goal of 3,000. Now, if you only get 1,000 done in a month, you're still going to get 1 point. And when I say points, these points are into the draw at the end of the month. So simply stitching 1,000 stitches in the month of January will automatically just get you a point. And that will get you one name, like one entry into our draw. And I will guarantee you that is still enough to win, because I've had people win with literally one entry into the draw. So the chance is always there, same as the lottery. Only one person wins it, even if you only have one ticket. So for each section, you're going to get different sets of points. And then at the end of the month, you will put in your full total points, and that will be how many entries you have into the draw. So for the stitches, this one is a very simple challenge, which is that 3,000. Like I said, for every 1,000, you're going to gain 1 point. So you got 1, 2, and 3 points here. And then once you hit that goal number, you get a kind of a bonus 10 points on top of the points. So you get 1 point for every 1,000 that you do, up to 10,000. So the max you can get out of this part of the challenge is 20 points towards whatever prize we have set for that month. So that's a very simple way to get 20 points in by simply stitching 97 stitches every day. You will have 13 points or entries into the draw. If you can do 10,000, if you're a heavy stitcher, that's 20 points with all of this into the draw. So 20 chances to win a prize. Now the other half of the challenges is our kind of our bingo board, which I call our Stitcho board. And here, essentially, you want to get the best card that you can get. So you won't get, the max amount of points you can get is 10, which is the full card. But if you can't get the full card because somehow you don't finish something on it, you will get whatever your next highest would be. So if you um, were to get the outside square, then you would get the 5 points for the outside square. You would not add the other points. So you would not go, okay, I have 4 lines, so that's 8 points. You wouldn't have that. You have a square, so you would have 5 points for the whole thing. So it is awarded based on your best card, not on every single thing you see on there. So the most you can get is 10 points, which is the full card. Below the full card would be filling out the edges, so the square. If not, then it would be any line in any direction, or the 4 corners, which is usually the easiest one to get yourself 1 point. On these boards, every month you'll see different things. We have things like stitch 300 stitches, stitch 50 stitches. Those are going to give you points towards your stitches points. So you know what I mean? If you stitch your 3,000 points that you have for your goal, you automatically are going to get the 4 corners here. So you're automatically going to get a point here because you met those stitch goals. This stitch 100 stitches, technically if you stitch 300 stitches, you've also stitched the other ones. If you want to give yourself more of a challenge, you can only check these off when you hit that. So if you hit 300, then you check this one off. The next day, if you hit 200, then you check this one off. That's a way to help you motivate yourself further to get the stitch count that you need for the month, sort of thing. Other squares will have stitch every day for a week. We have comment on posts in the group. So in our Facebook group for this challenge, just go in and comment on other people's posts. Either, give them kind of a thumbs up for a good job, tell them how beautiful their work is, how great their progress is, just something. It doesn't have to be a substantial, like, earth-moving comment. It can be something as way to go or looks great. It's just getting you out there and getting you connecting with the other people in the group. Then we've got things like update your work in progress. If you have our planner, there's pages in it that you can do this with. Share your group, like our group, so our Facebook group, with some of your other stitchy friends. Stitch 10 days this month, stitch something new, stitch to a wintry movie. It's all kind of just fun, different things to, like I said, motivate you to do cross stitch. So if you're sitting there and it's January, and if you're not in Australia and it's not summer and it's snowing outside, you go to throw on, binge watch a TV show or a movie, cross stitch at the same time, you would check off that you cross stitch while it's snowing. And if you make the movie or the TV show that has a wintry scene in it, you're crossing off another thing. It's just fun ways to incorporate your stitching into other aspects of your life and have some fun while you're stitching. So you don't just sit down and just cross stitch. You can sit down and go, hey, today I need to use color 535 and color 498, things like that. So these will change every month. If you have any questions in regards to a specific square, you can very simply just post in the group and say, hey, for this square, can I do this? Or how would I achieve this? Like, I know in January we'll end up with the question of, for the square that says it's snowing, what if I live in Arizona? Or what if I live in Australia? YouTube is my answer to many things. Get creative with how to make these work. So if you live in an area that doesn't have a lake and there's a square that says stitch by the lake or something like that, then get creative or stitch by the water, and you don't have any water nearby. Guess what? You have a sink, you have a bathtub. Like, just get creative with it. And if you want to just throw it on YouTube, that, like, again, that's fine too. These aren't meant to stress you out and give you a ton of homework. These are essentially just fun ways to stitch a little bit different. I know in the past we've done ones where it was stitch while walking, or stitch while in a moving vehicle, not driving, but in a moving vehicle. But for me, I couldn't stitch in a car because I get car sick. But then or like stitch when you're walking, and if somebody isn't quite as mobile and not able to walk and cross stitch, I don't expect you to do something that's going to hurt or make you sick. Simply go stitch in the car. Does the car have to be moving? No. Or if you, you know what I mean, literally stitch in a car when it's moving, It could just be a matter of you do one stitch and somebody backs the car up, if you want to really get technical with it. But to me, if you can just say, okay, I went and stitched in the car, that's good enough. As long as you're trying to get to the goal of what the item is, I'm not going to default and say, no, you can't have that square because you didn't do exactly what I said. Same thing with stitch and drink a hot chocolate. If number one, you don't like hot chocolate, you're allergic to chocolate, anything like that, you can say, okay, well, I'm going to just do a different hot beverage, or I will grab another Christmassy drink. Like, the point is just that these are themed to the time of year or to a holiday, things like that. So there is leeway to get creative with them. I don't expect you to be like on point exact. And if not, you can't do this. The goal of it is just that you have some fun, get your points in, maybe a chance to get a prize at the end, but the main goal of it is to get you cross stitching. So keep that in mind whenever you go through these boards. So those are the two main areas that you would get points for in the challenge. And then there is a third little kind of bonus section, which I call the oops board. So this one, you are essentially going to pick 5 things throughout the month that usually when you're cross stitching will either stress you out or make you want to put your stuff down, things like that. So if you lose needles, you break needles, make knots in your thread, frog different, like, you have mistakes in your project, anything that can would end up sort of frustrating you throughout the month and make you not want to cross stitch, you will put those 5 things on here. And then this way, when those do happen, as much as you may be frustrated by a mistake or a broken needle, you also are going to gain yourself a point into the challenge and win a possible prize. So it's kind of putting a spin on those things that may frustrate you a little bit. So with those 3 things in mind, essentially you are going to, at the end of every month, go in, we have a form that you would fill out. And in that form, you're going to fill out how many points you got for the month. And you're going to take it in, like, if you were to get the max amount, the most anybody can get is 55 points. So 55 entries into the draw. So if you finish and meet the 3,000 for, say, January, for example, you meet the 3,000 stitch goal and you did the whole 10,000. So you got all 20 points. You would fill in here and say, I got 20 points for the stitches counting part of the challenge. For the Stitcho board, and if you fill the card, you would get your max 10 points. So now you've got 30 points into the draw. The Stitch Me bonus is the pattern that is included within our planner. So anybody who has purchased our planner, or any Stitchies or Stitchy Lights, because you automatically get the planner, those patterns would be, this year is going to be circus type theme, so for 2026. So for January, you completed the, I'm not going to go to the pattern, but it's a little circus tent. This is just an outline of it. If you finish that within the month of January, you can get 10 points. Now, a lot of people ask me, if they stitch in advance, can they count it? We'll leave a handful of stitches. So if you want to stitch in January, February, or if you get your planner, like right now it's November, if you already have your planner and you start stitching them, leave a handful of stitches, leave the back stitching, something to do in that month to say that you finished it in that month. That would get you your 10 points. The oops board, which is these 5 that you get to pick each month, that is 5 extra points. You can make these very simple things. You can make these, I didn't get to stitch today 5 times, and throughout the month I can guarantee you're going to have 5 days that you aren't able to stitch maybe, and you can make these very simple. You can make them very difficult. I don't monitor nor care what you put. It's just, like I said, to take those kind of bad things and turn them into a positive, put a silver lining on them, we'll say. So that would be another 5 points. And then there is a Stitchy bonus. So that is for any of my paid members, which are called Stitchies. They automatically will get 10 points added in. The maximum being 55. You submit your points with the 55, and then every month what I will do is after the 5th or 6th of the month, I will pull those points. I will organize them, put them all into like a virtual wheel. I will spin and I will put the draw for, like, January, it's a pattern. This prize will change throughout the year, and I will reach out in the Facebook group to tell whoever won that that prize. So that is essentially the challenge that's going to happen every month. And the only things that will change is the structure is going to stay the same. So the goal will change every month in terms of how many stitches the goal is for, and the items in the board will change. And obviously the patterns in the planner are different every month, so you would stitch each month. And then along with this challenge, you will get the month little pattern, which for 2026 will be the cryptids. You will get that included in the same email as this. It doesn't have anything to do with the challenge. You can use it for a lot of the squares, but it's not a required thing to do. It's just an added bonus as a thank you for joining me in this challenge. So I hope that that answers some or most of the questions with regards to the challenge. If you happen to think up of a question and I have not mentioned it in this, you can always put it down in the comments below and I will make sure to answer it. I do also try to keep an FAQ section on the page of the challenge so that as I see questions come up or really good questions come up or come up more often, I will try to put them in there so that other people can get the answers as well. So I hope that gives you a bit of an insight into how these challenges work. And I'm very excited to get started with everybody in 2026. So keep an eye out in your email and we will get started. The first one, like I said, will be the last few days of December. So let's get ready to do lots of cross stitching in 2026.